Nearly 100 people paint this scene in watercolor. How different can they be? Which ones do you like and why? Hi, I'm Tim Wilmot, a watercolor painter and tutor. I organise regular online watercolor workshops, and this is a compilation of nearly 100 attendee paintings from my November online workshop. Every month, watercolor enthusiasts from all over the world join me for about a 2-hour paint-along experience where I do a step-by-step demo and answer your questions along the way. So last month we painted Trapani on the island of Sicily, and the theme was a nighttime or evening painting in watercolor. How can we depict a nighttime or evening scene in watercolor? Now, on these events, you don't need to paint in my style. I paint in quite a loose style. If you've seen my other videos on YouTube or elsewhere, I paint in a little bit of a loose style, but it's really interesting to see everyone's interpretation of the same scene. And the workshop is open to painters of all levels, beginners and advanced. Everyone is welcome. So I'm going to show you the attendee paintings one by one and give a short critique on each one. Please, what I say is just my own opinion. Of course, with art, one person may really like some aspect of a painting and another person may hate it, but that's art for you. What I'm looking for in each painting is composition, drawing skills, watercolor techniques, of course, and sticking to the brief, sticking to the objective, trying to get this nighttime scene. So as I say, it's Trapani. It's the center of this city, a balmy summer's evening, and we've got some gentle light coming over the scene from some artificial lights that we see here, there, with a few lights dotted around the place. And silhouetted against the sky are these lovely palm trees, different types of palm trees, almost like pom-pom or lollipops there. Some stout trunks as well, framing the scene. We have a fountain or statue in the middle and some horizontal lines, this horizontal pool that's in front of this, I think it's a government building, a public building. And then in the foreground, some shrubs throwing some shadows across the scene. Also in my demo, I normally like to include figures as well, just add them into the mix to give a little bit of extra interest. So that's the source photograph, which we share during the workshop. My meager effort is here. This is the one I did on the day. And we covered a few different techniques on getting the lights in your scene, the lights of the lamps, the street lamps, different ways of doing that using masking fluid or liquid frisket or masking tape, or some people were using a magic eraser. There's different ways of doing that, or maybe just some careful painting, negative painting around that. So I think I achieved what I wanted to do. I probably could have gone a little bit darker in the building and some of the foreground as well, just to get the feeling, a little bit more of a feeling of the time of day, that nighttime scene. But it's quite a loose affair, different range of values. So we've got light palm trees sort of silhouetted in the background, and then coming to some harder, darker values in the foreground, and then trying to get these dramatic shadows coming out from these lights, dramatic shadows coming towards that sort of hopefully leads the viewer's eye into the scene. Then I include a couple of figures, a tiny bit of white paint to get a little bit of highlight on the statue and the figures and this litter bin on the right hand side. So that's mine. Let's see how everyone else got on. Oh, if you want to take part in these workshops, by the way, you can see all my events listed at www.crowdcast.io/Tim Wilmot. So that's crowdcast.io/Tim Wilmot, TIMWILMOT. There you'll see this workshop, which was dated November 2020, which you can still do. Watch the replay, still take part, get a critique from me, and the previous ones. And the next one will be in January. But all the details, just go to crowdcast.io/Tim Wilmot. Hopefully see you there. First up then is Adele. And certainly we've got a lovely glow from the background buildings. Nice way that you've done the lights there. Great greens as well. A lot of people, a lot of beginners have trouble mixing realistic greens, but I think these are quite nice. And you've dropped in a bit of nice shadow underneath those and dramatic shadows coming out across the foreground. I'd say watch the perspective. Maybe those figures are just a tiny bit low. Looks like we're looking down on the scene slightly. I don't know whether that was what you want to do, but a lovely scene. You've certainly captured the nighttime feeling there. So thank you, Adele. Alexei, very dramatic. Love the trees. They're just sort of very loosely painted in. Maybe one or two of them a bit slightly overworked. But I like the way that you've depicted those palm trees, and also the angle of the trunks as well. That adds to a sense of the drama. Yeah, beautiful, lovely and soft in the middle ground there. Again, nice way that you've done the lights as well. Very nice. Perhaps that tree here, the trunk, being there on that third, maybe if we could see a little bit of the base, it's sort of cutting the picture in. We've got a third on the right, 2/3 on the left, just a minor point. But yeah, lovely painting, very loose, very dramatic. Thanks, Alexei. And Andre, nice composition, light the sky. We've dropped, or I guess you've dropped a little bit of red into that sky just to make it a little bit deeper towards the top. Nice graded wash. Very nice. Perhaps with your brush, if you had a better point, Andre, you might get a little bit more interesting brush marks. Also watch that tree there. Maybe if when you painted the tree, if you went a little bit darker, maybe a little bit thicker, then we wouldn't see the line of the building appearing behind it. But very nice. Elsewhere, good handling of watercolor. Certainly got the feeling of the nighttime scene and dramatic shadows. Well done, Andre. And Andrew W. Quite a soft scene. Certainly the feeling of early evening. Nice composition with the placement of the palm trees. Nice glow coming from the building. Very soft edges around those lights. Good placement of figures. Perhaps we could have gone a bit darker with the shadows coming from the shrubs, Andrew. But a lovely watercolor, well done. Yeah, very colourful. Thank you very much. And Anna B. Yeah, a good range of values. I like the lights, even though they're not white. We certainly have the sense that there's some artificial lights casting their shadows. Very loosely done, limited palette, good range of values, nice loose approach of the way that you've done the palm trees. Maybe ease off on that little bit of black on that palm tree. Yeah, very loose. And also the figures, they've got a nice bit of movement in them as well. It looks like they're sort of walking, one's walking from right to left, or the other one's walking towards this one. Yeah, well done, Anna. Thank you. And Anna W. Nice composition, like the sky, nice graded wash. Perhaps watch the transition from the blue into that yellow. I think when I did the demo, I started off with yellow, then I dropped the blue into it and tried to get a soft edge. But sometimes if the paper dries a little bit too quick, you might get that little bit of a line appearing there. And perhaps also we could have had a darker area underneath the background palm trees. But everything else is beautiful. I like the colour you've got on the building. Very nice lights, great shadows as well. Sense of drawing the eye into the scene. Good size of those figures, just in the right proportion. Nice loose way of doing the windows as well. Yep, very nice. Anna W. and Audrey. A gorgeous yellow that you've got into that one, Audrey, that background building, and also quite dark at the top, like a previous paint swatch. When you do the palm trees, trying to make them a little bit darker, maybe, or the paint thicker than the background, just so that we don't sort of. I know you get these transparent layers in watercolor, but just trying to avoid that that translucency. I like the statue. Yeah, nice pose to that statue. Great figures as well. Shadows all in the right direction. Yeah, very nice. Thank you, Audrey. And Bahire, I think I pronounced your name correctly, Bahire. Forgive me if I didn't pronounce your first name properly. Oh, incidentally, I'm just giving out people's first names in this just to protect people's identities. So first name only on this on these short critiques. Yeah, Bahiri, great feeling of nighttime with this one. Very dark in that top left corner, and nice soft graded wash. You've got a good handling of watercolor. Again, like a previous painter, maybe close off or not have such a bright gap underneath those background trees, maybe. Good foreground shadows, good figures as well. Yeah, very nice. And I like the way that you've done those lights. We can just sort of, that light there on the left is so bright we can't see the trunk. So well done, Bahiri. Barb, wow. So very dark. Certainly, I mean, if you think about what time of the evening this might be, this is probably, well, the sun has long gone down, and your shadows here, we can see here with the use of the range of values, we really can dictate what time of day it might be. So nice 3 lights that you've got. Very dramatic shadows, dry brush marks as well, just to get a different variation of edges. Perhaps the figures look as if they were a little bit rushed, but they're all right. Yeah, very nice. Love the building. How you can see how when the building's so dark at the top there against that sky, you really do get that sense of that time of day, that nighttime feeling. So thanks very much, Barb. And Barry M. Okay, so you've got, so from a composition point of view, you've got a nice palm tree on the left and on the right. It sort of frames the scene in a way, and the way that they're angled in as well. That's a nice touch. Dry brush mark on that trunk, very loosely done, good handling of the sky. Perhaps the sky could have been a tiny bit darker, but the lights are good. Very precise way of drawing the building as well. Figures got a bit of movement in them. Perhaps some of these bushes, if you had a bigger brush, we wouldn't get the feeling of a little bit of a tiny overworking with some of the bushes, and get get a sort of soft transition from the bush to the shadows and then drawing off to the right. But fantastic. Well done, Barry. Betty. So Betty, you haven't gone for the bright orangey reds, but this works. And also I like the trees that you've got in behind the building. Nice touch. Of course, with trees, we can move things around to suit the composition. You've got a big palm tree on the left. Maybe some of these palm trees are maybe too many fronds. So it looks a tiny bit overworked, but very nice composition and a good idea to adjust the placement of those trees to suit the composition. I like the figures as well. I'm not sure if this figure is dragging the dog or the dog's dragging the figure, but nice touch. So yes, well done for adjusting the composition. Thanks, Betty. Beverly M, very colourful. We've got all sorts going on here. Reds, yellows, blues. Yeah, very colourful, very dramatic, nice and loose with the shadows. Great way that you've done the lights there, Beverly. Dry brush marks for some of the palm trees. I think with the palm trees, maybe this one here, perhaps fewer brush marks would make that tree a little bit more realistic. And as you've done with the others, just, get that sort of arched feeling going on. Nice bit of lifting out there as well with some of the marks on that palm tree. Just get a different textures appearing in your painting. Well done, Beverly. Bill W. Yes, I think like Barb's, you've gone quite dark. Top left corner. Certainly got the feeling of nighttime. I like the lights as well. Nice balance to those. The figures. I think the light underneath the palm trees in the background there works because you've got a bit of a softer edge from the palm tree to the lighter. There's a bit of a sort of glow there, so it's quite sort of mysterious, that that glow on the right hand side from the background. Yeah, as I say, very dark in the top left corner. Nice loose approach of the painting of the palm trees, the feather palms and the fan palm there. Very good. Thanks very much, Bill. And Bob A. I like the lean of this one. This is quite tropical, that lean of that one, Bob. Nice composition. Well done with the lights. Perhaps some of the details on the building. I'm not sure about the way that you've created the windows. Perhaps if you had a more of a range of different brush marks on the building, that might be a bit better. But certainly a feeling of nighttime, lovely sky, nice transition from the blue to the yellow. Good figures as well. I like the right-hand figure. That's very good, Bob. Palm tree on this side, perhaps the shadow should be going maybe a little bit more to the right. But it's down in the bottom right corner. We don't notice it too much. Yeah, very nice. Also, this palm tree looks a little bit overworked here. Bob, this one here. The other's all right, but that one just a few too many brush marks. Well done. Well done, Bob. Bogdan. Very colourful. And you've actually, we look as if we're looking down on the scene a bit with the perspective, and not sure if that was what you wanted to do, Bogdan, but wow, this is certainly nighttime colours as well. Perhaps we don't see the white of lamps or lights coming towards us, but there's a nice glow coming from the building. You've achieved it on the right hand side, and three figures. Yeah, very nice. I'm not so sure about the way you've done the palm tree leaves, but maybe it's sort of in tune with the style of the rest of the painting. And that one, that tree there almost looks like it's dripping treacle. So it's quite a it's quite a nice effect that you've got there. Well done, Bogdan. Yeah, deeper the night, I think, with this one. Well done. Brian K. Oh, a lot of figures here. A group of figures. I like the statue. I think in the source photo it was like a single figure with carrying an urn on their shoulder, something like that. But you've got that a slightly different statue there. Well done. You're obviously very good at painting horses, and you've got the moon. Actually, having the moon up there is a nice sort of repetition of the shape of the lights as well. Quite soft. Not so sure about the way that you've rendered the palm trees. They're a little bit not strong enough. If they're a little bit stronger, perhaps in colour or form, that might work a little bit better, just to bring them a bit further forwards. The ones in the background are right, but these just maybe slightly overworked and a little bit weak in colour. But great figures there, Brian. Well done. And I love that the figure on the horse statue in the middle. Yeah, nice touch. And the moon as well. Well done. Bronwyn. Very loose. I like the blues in the shadows. That's a gorgeous blue that you've got in there, Bronwyn. Nice dry brush marks for the palm trees. I particularly like that palm tree there and that one there. The actual brush marks you've got and the green, that sort of, what would I call it? Like a dark olive green maybe. Very, very nice. And the bit of light on the building in the background, the light hitting a sort of ledge running towards the top of the building. Nice way that you've done the lights. Yep, lovely. Nice and loose. Well done, Bronwyn. Bruno. Yeah, I like the yellow. Maybe a little bit too light. In a way, a bit like when I looked at mine, Bruno, mine was a bit too light. Perhaps yours, if we had a darker sky, and if the foreground was a little bit deeper in colour, that might work a bit better. But it's a nice composition. Great statue there. I was talking about the figure with the urn on the shoulder. You've done that really well. Yeah, very nice. Well done. You've got the lights also. Fantastic lights. Well done. Thank you, Bruno. And Calvin. Now, Calvin, if anyone's seen Calvin's before, Calvin gets in an elegantly dressed lady with a long dress and normally a hat as well. So we've got Calvin's trademark lady in there. And like a few other painters, you've changed the scene to just to adjust it to your own feeling. We don't have that dominant palm tree trunk, but this works. You've got a nice glow coming up from the horizon, some birds that might have been spooked by something. Not so sure about the statue. I don't think that actually brings anything. Maybe the colour of it, brown, but you've got the lights there, Calvin, very nice and very appropriate. The lady is doing a painting along with us, and she's got her light as well, shining on the scene. Yeah, it's almost got the feeling of like a moonlight, and I like the touch of that slither of light there, Calvin. My eyes keep going back to that area of the painting. Yep, definitely your style, Calvin. Well done. Carol. So I guess with this one, Carol, we're looking as if we're head on to the building, looking right square to the building. Nice lights. Could have gone a bit more dramatic with the shadows. Just watch a little bit of overworking, but great handling of the watercolour in the sky and that building. And these palm trees as well. I like that palm tree. This one here. It's a nice palm tree. Yeah, very nice and well-placed figures. Well done. Thanks, Carol. and Ching. Yeah, there's a nice sort of greenish reddish feeling to this, a greenish bluish feeling to this. There's the dominating palette, very loose. I like the different sized bushes in the foreground. The lights as well, even though we've got a bit of a hard edge around them, that really works. Nice sky. I love the blue in the sky also. Palm trees are great. Yeah, lovely. Well done, Ching. Dijon, definitely nighttime now. Well, this has to be the prize for the time of day. Those figures, brilliant. Dijon, and the way that you've done these silhouettes and that bit of a red creeping into the statue, and some objects just to the side of the statue. You really do feel the brightness of these lights, almost that you need some sunglasses on for those lights. Palm trees, and you've gone for more of a sort of greyish bluish feeling to the sky, and you've dropped in a few little drops of clear water, I guess, or you might have done a bit of splattering, and they can be the stars. Very nice touch. Well done. Very loose, confident brush marks. Great, fantastic. Well done. Thanks, Dijon. And Dan F. Again, very impressionistic, dramatic. We've got quite a lot of little bits of white showing through, and I think that actually works. It gives it quite a nice, fresh sparkle to it. It's got a lot of vibrancy to the painting, the way that you've done the palm tree fronds and leaves. That the green in the foreground is delightful, very, very realistic, that green. Dan, it's beautiful. Well done. Thanks so much. Dave P. Right, now, composition good. I would say practice your palm trees, Dave, just to make them a little bit more realistic. Perhaps the brush had a bit too much paint, a tiny bit overworked. Lights are good. Be careful with a little bit of a line appearing around that one. And figures, perhaps the heads are just a tiny bit too big, unless you could say, well, maybe they've got a bit of a hat on, perhaps. But I like the statue. The overall composition is great. You've got the placement of the building just way over to the left. They're giving you more of the screen, more of the paper to play with the background trees. Nice sky, that graded wash, well done on that. Yeah, just watch a slight bit of overworking in places, Dave, and the sort of also the ratio of paint to water as well. Yeah, well done, Dave. Thank you very much. Dave R. Like the lights, Dave. Perhaps some of these palm trees have got a few too many fronds, a bit too bushy, but they're all right. They're nice sort of brush marks. I like that right-hand palm tree. That's very nice. And this palm tree trunk here, that's very good as well. Nothing overworked. Good placement of figures. Very loose, dry brush marks. Like the sky as well. Yeah, well done. Thanks, Dave R. David C. There might be a couple of David C, so that's why my system's put this as number 2. Right, David. Like the building. Nice and colourful. Sky good. Not so sure about the background trees with the too much of the yellow showing from behind. Perhaps if a few of those gaps were filled in, that might be a little bit better. This what some people might think is a mistake there. I actually quite like that with that sort of bloom appearing. It's very effective. Figures there on the left-hand side. Yep, some of the trees maybe don't look too palm-like. It's just down to practice, really, with your brush marks trying to depict those trees. But certainly a feeling of the nighttime. Thanks, David C. Number 2. It might be another. Oh, here we go. That's David C. Number 2. This is David C. Number 1. Right. Soft, quite soft. Not too colourful. We've got the feeling of the night time. Not so sure about the palm tree on the left-hand side with when it's coming down to the ground and then the shadow going off that. We want to try and make that probably a little bit darker so that we're not seeing the rim of the pool, this pond showing through. But good composition. You've got the shadows going in the right direction as well from the light source. Nice light value of the background trees as well. Good lights. Perhaps the building could have a few more darks in there, just some of the windows a little bit darker, maybe. Yeah, nice one. David C, a soft one. Diane G. Right, so I like the building. The sky's good. Nice placement of the palm trees. Not so sure about the foreground, with the bushes. Well, I guess you've left out some of the bushes, but maybe the foreground needs something or a little bit of light in there. You've got the light coming from the middle at the ground level. That works well. I like on the right-hand side as well. Perhaps you might have lifted off a little bit of the paint. I think that works really well on the right-hand side. Like the sky as well. You've got in a nice texture into the sky. Maybe the feeling of a few clouds up there. And that building, the texture on the building is good as well. Yep, well done, Diane. So it was Diane G and now Diane M. Very colourful. Nice dry brush marks for the palm trees. Good figures. Perhaps we could be a bit stronger on the shadows coming from the bushes. Going a little bit darker with those shadows, but I like the lights. I like the blue of the sky as well. Although if it was a tiny bit darker, that sky, it might give us a feeling more of the night time. Yeah, well done. Thanks very much, Diane M. Doris. Right. Maybe your photograph is a little bit out of focus, but it's a lovely painting, Doris. I like the angle that you've got on the rooftop there. So from a perspective point of view, a little bit more interesting than perhaps if it was horizontal. Good loose approach of the palm trees. We've got a tiny bit of white paint to catch the light. I think the foreground could have been darker. It looks a little bit sort of pale. Yeah, it could be a bit darker, Doris, or greener. It's sort of like a very pale blue. But everything else, very nice. You've got the feeling of the lights. I like that light in the middle. Maybe the other two aren't as good as that one in the middle. Good range of values, good palm trees in the background. Yeah, well done, Doris. And Dorothy Dorothy P. Light the sky, Dorothy. Nice glow on the building. Palm trees may be some a bit overworked and perhaps too many gaps in the foliage in the background. With the figures, perhaps make them a little bit bolder, so we're kind of almost losing them in the with the darker background. Perhaps you could consider adding a little bit of highlight, a little bit of white paint on the shoulders or the heads there, just to make them pop a little bit. But I like the statue, the unicorn there, and the figure with the urn. Yeah, nice sky. Well done, Dorothy, and nice building as well. So Eileen. Well, we're looking sort of head onto the building. You've got a good composition to it, nice range of colours. Perhaps the trees are a little bit too weak in colour. Perhaps they could have been a bit darker to make them stand out a bit more, and so we don't see the background object showing through them. I like the figures though. The foreground bushes are good. Perhaps we could have gone a bit darker on the foreground as well. It looks like a sort of like a lime green. I like the street lights with the supports, the posts, good touch. So we definitely sort of got a connection there with where the lights are coming from. But nice colourful scene. Well done, Eileen. Engin. Nice, clean watercolour. I like the pencil lines showing through. These actually these vertical lines here really work for me as something showing through the painting. I like those pencil marks showing through. Palm trees look good. They could be a bit darker again. As I've mentioned before with others, if the palm trees were a bit darker, a bit thicker, we wouldn't have the background building showing through. I like this palm tree, but that one there doesn't look as good. It's sort of with the palm trees, everything needs to sort of come from that central crown as such, and yeah, those are better in my opinion. Good figures though. Nice lights also. I like the greens that you've got in the foreground. Well done, Engin. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. Fiona. Well, a feeling of night, certainly. I like the building here, Fiona, with the dark at the top and little bits of light showing through the topper areas of the building. Nice lights, good figure work. With the shadows, for some reason I'm getting a feeling of there's like a ledge here and we've got a bit of a drop. Maybe if the shadows went off at a more of a horizontal, so this bush here, maybe, just a thought here, Fiona, if that shadow went off like that, that might be a bit better. And this bush on the left, for example, the shadows went that way. Just might give us a feeling of the gradient of the place, but everything else really nice. I like the dry brush marks, the palm trees. I particularly like that palm tree in the top right corner. That's very good. Well done. Francois. Love the lights. The cat. Cat, or cat, I presume it's a cat. Looks like a cat. This figure walking from left to right. Oh, you've got a car in here. Well done. great lights, nice trees as well. That tree in the top left-hand corner is very good. Not so sure about the foreground. Well, we've got a feeling of more of a level, almost like a car park in the foreground. Sorry, in the middle ground, just in front of the building, which I guess sort of works with the car coming in from the right-hand side. But perhaps some of these bushes are a tiny bit overworked with you going over them multiple times. But as a whole, it really works. And nice touch with the cat and or the dog and the car. I love that car. That's a brilliant car. Well done, Francois. And Gary M. Fantastic foreground. And the trees as well. I love the trees. Although maybe some of the directions of the marks, maybe not strictly speaking palm tree like, but it's got a lot of drama, the way that you've done them very confidently, very quickly, minimal brush marks, lovely light on that building, the great figure work. I particularly like that figure, Gary, with the dog, the figure walking from right to left and leaning on that leading leg. And yeah, coming back to the foreground, the colours that you've managed to get into the foreground really does give you the sense of the materials here and the gravel of the walkway and this whole area here with your use of the brush marks and little bits of cooler colours in there. Does sort of give you the sense of that, the thickness of it and the denseness of that bush. Well done, Gary. Nice one, nice and loose. Gwen, very clean looking. Nice, simple palm trees. Not so sure, Gwen, about this yellow area here below the background palm trees. Perhaps if there were just a few, maybe some vertical trunks or something like that, or buildings below, maybe just on the horizon. If there was a building, that might work a little bit better. But good figures, dramatic shadows, nice building. Yeah, well done, Gwen. Hi on me. I think I might have just misspelt your name. Apologise. Hi on me. I know it's you. I like the sky. The fact that you've got the same value of the sky, you've continued it into the top of that building, I guess, when you laid down the initial wash. But it really works for me, and you've sort of depicted the top of the building with some very brief brush marks, some dry brush marks there, so that it just tells us that's the sky, and below that's the building. Nice lights, very good use of the brush marks with the trees, good figures as well, just in the right size. I like the way that you've done these bushes with these little darker specks, just giving us a great impression of the foliage there. Oh, we've got a bright light there over there on the right hand side, could be the moon or something like that. Yeah, a nice touch with the sky being the same colour as the top of that building, but then getting in those brush marks and maybe a little bit of white paint just to tell the viewer that that's the top of the building. Yeah, well done, hi on me. And Ian G. Yeah, you've got in 3 main trunks now. So we've got this sense of a denser group of palm trees in the foreground. What else? Palm trees may be a tiny bit overworked. And just be careful of maybe going a little bit too dark or too black with some of those shadows. I think if you injected a bit more colour in it somewhere, that would give a bit of extra sort of dimension, a bit of an extra interest to it. Or going a little bit bolder on some of the horizontal marks as well. We've got that bit of a gap in there and a gap here. Perhaps if there was something a bit bolder, connecting these objects together. But very nice painting. I like the way that you've done the lights there, Ian. That's done very well. And the sky is very good. Figures just the right size, bit of movement as well. Yeah, just be careful with going a little bit too dark or too black with some of those shadows. Well done, Ian. Isabel. Okay, so I like the lights. Very loose, nothing overworked. A lot of nice dry brush marks, great values in the background, and that the background trees connecting with the building. So we're making that that connection, bringing the elements together. Very nice. I like the way that you've done some of the windows and balconies on the building as well. Perhaps the figures. Perhaps a little bit too static. Yeah, so maybe the figures need to be a little bit, what can I say, that right hand one looks a little bit too thin perhaps. Or is it the head's a bit too round? Maybe the head's a little bit too round. But everything else is fantastic and good. There's the way that you've done the lights there, Isabel, very good. Nice one, and nice bushes in the front with the shadows coming from those. Yeah, dry brush marks. Yeah, well done. Nice one. And Jim, very bright. And yeah, you've got, with the way that you've got the highlight across the top of the pond or the pool there, that adds to the feeling of light coming through. Nice dramatic shadows that you've done, presumably in one brush mark. Very good. I like the sky as well. And the top of the building, a bit of a soft edge. Dry brush marks for the palm trees. Soft edge to the top of the trees in the background. Figures, maybe just a little bit too much of the white appearing around some of the figures, like that one on the left. Perhaps a bit too much white appearing around that one. But everything else, lovely. It's got a nice starter. I like the blue, that almost like a sort of lavender bluish colour at the top of that building. Yeah, quite striking. Well done, Jim. And John D. Oh, it's definitely John's style. I like the slope that you've got on this one, John. The angle of that building and the angle of that pool adds a bit of drama to it. And then we've got these other angles coming off as well, and all the different colours that you've sneaked in there, these blues and yellows and greens, lovely lights. Yeah, very good. Maybe not so sure about the figures on the right-hand side there. Is that, oh, maybe that this person's holding up a mobile phone or taking a selfie or something like that. I get it now. I just wonder what the that light bit was. Yeah, and just watch a tiny bit of overworking of some of the trees like this one here. But we got the feeling of night. Yeah, and as I say, I like that dramatic slope on it, John. Joy. Very loose. I like the sky that you've got in there, the nice graded wash on that sky, very confidently done. Perhaps the foreground could have been a tiny bit darker. And maybe with the tree trunk, just try and get in a bit more of a form to the tree trunk, some extra bit of texture into that palm tree. That sort of lighter as well. Maybe I did this. Maybe I had too much of a lighter area below the background trees. But again, perhaps if this tree trunk came down here, or that palm tree behind had a tree trunk, that would just be a little bit more realistic if there was something filling in that gap. Nice lights though. Got the feeling of the night time. Well done. Thank you very much, Joy. And Jit. Quite a soft feeling to this. It looks a little bit empty on the right-hand side, I feel. Particularly on the right hand of this palm tree trunk. We've got the lights. Try and get in a greater range of values as well. So if you went a little bit darker, I think Jit with the sky in the top left corner, and have that graded wash, that in the middle, that's just the right value, but try and get in some more darks. And with the shadows, where the lights are coming from, try and get in some more dramatic sort of angular shadow. The shadow from that bin is okay, that's great. Figures, all right. Maybe this figure's head is just a tiny bit too big, so I would have gone a little bit smaller on that one. I like the tree though. That tree is superb. Well done. Fantastic. Yeah, just my point about getting in a greater range of values in the building and the sky there. Thank you very much. And Kada, very colourful, fantastic sky. I like the blue that you've got into that sky. The lights as well. Figure trying to maintain control of the dog. A couple of figures on the left-hand side. Are they maybe a tiny bit too big there on the left-hand side? But they're all right. Nice statue in the middle there. Nice way that you've done the bushes as well. For me, the standouts are that light there. I think that's brilliant. The way that you've done the background, trees, palm trees, brilliant. And this whole area here, that just right. Definitely nighttime, definitely late evening. Well done, Kada. Kate H. Right, so we're quite, so we've gone slightly some wider, a wider size of picture as regards the dimensions. Nice colours. I think some of the trees are a little bit overworked, Kate, and also the figures there are a little bit too dark and maybe the legs aren't quite right. Maybe if they're a little bit lighter and the legs not so clear or evident, it might, or almost done with a dry brush mark, that might give us a greater sense of movement. But the values are just right. The sky, the building, yeah, just the trees a little bit over it. I like the tree trunk. You've done very well with that tree trunk and the foreground as well. That whole foreground is brilliant. Well done, Kate. Katrin. I like the brush marks, very vibrant. The different angles of the palm trees. You've got a building there in the background. Nice figures as well. Got the darker corner up there. The lights, the way that you've done that transition from the white to the darker building, brilliant. Yeah. Yeah, maybe this palm tree here on the left. Some of the palm trees are not particularly palm-like, but I do like the dry brush marks. A bit like Gary's earlier. I think you get away with it with the confidence of your brush strokes. I like this tree trunk, this palm tree trunk as well. The jagged, the edge that you've got on the right-hand side and the left-hand side. Yeah. Very loose and very vibrant. Well done, Katrin. Kazim. Very precisely drawn and painted. I like the angle of these shadows, definitely drawing the viewer in. We've got a grouping of 3 figures there. Maybe the lights could have been a little bit brighter. It's not so clear that they are lights there, Kazim, but good job on the sky. Nice graded wash, very well handled. Like the palm trees as well. Very well done on that. Yeah, just maybe if some of the lights were just a little bit lighter, that might just give it an extra edge to it. But lovely sky. Well done. Thanks, Kazim. Chris D. Chris, thanks very much. I like the way that you've done the foreground, very loose. The shrubs and shadows done all as one. That blue bit of granulation getting in there as well. I don't like so much the palm tree, particularly this palm tree here, where you might have gone over it twice. I think with the blue maybe first of all and then a darker green on top of it. So a little bit overworked. Everything else though, fantastic. Like the lights, good figures. Maybe there could be something in here, some sort of horizontal, some sort of vertical element just to connect the foreground with the background there, as we've done with the figures, but just needs something. I think it just needs something in that area there. But thank you, Chris. Like that, like those foreground shadows, they're delightful. Well done. And the light on that trunk as well. Fantastic. Yeah, thanks, Chris. Lani. Good composition. Good drawing. Maybe the sky tiny bit overworked in that we've got some brush marks showing through. But you've got the lights there. You've got the depth with the values as well. The background trees are very well done. And the figures, watch the figures' heads just being a tiny bit too large. And the trees, the palm trees, yeah, I think you're getting away with that. I'm not sure, I don't like that one there. But the other trees are all right. They look pretty good to me, Lani. Yeah, well done. Certainly feeling of light from those lights there, and that nighttime feeling. Well done, Laurent. So my first impression, I like all these little speckles of light that you managed to get in. I'm not sure if you've done that with some careful painting or whether that's a tiny bit of body paint on top. But Lauren, it's fantastic. The way that you've drawn the background building, the loose approach to these trees, the background palm trees as well, the light showing through. Yes, very, very good. And the figures also. Good idea to include those figures on the right-hand side, just in the right proportion. Nice grouping with this statue in the middle there. Oh yes, you've got some more figures there on the left. But the standout things for me, the little speckles that you've got on the scene and the texture that you've got into the different elements as well. Yeah, fantastic. Well done, Laurent. Leslie S. Leslie, very clean, very fresh looking painting. Maybe not necessarily nighttime, but you've got the main elements here. Watch with the trees, as I've mentioned quite a few times before, so you're not the only one, but just maybe go a little bit darker with the trees or thicker, just so that we don't see the darker objects showing through. And maybe the figures could have a bit of a shadow to them, just to help connect them with the ground. So maybe if you imagine there were some shadows there, also maybe some stronger horizontal marks or something, just to fill in this gap here where we've got the background trees and the lighter area below that. But nice and colourful, and you've got those lights. Well done. Thanks, Leslie. Liz. Yeah, I like the yellow glow going across the middle of the scene. The darkness that you've got into the foreground behind the bushes. I'm not sure what, hopefully this is not a figure here with a dagger coming out from the undergrowth, but good figure. I like those two figures there. Building, very good. Maybe the sky and the trees a tiny bit overworked. If you went with maybe if you had a bigger brush, that might help you a bit more, but everything else is really nice. And I particularly like that glow across the middle of the scene, Liz. Yeah, well done. Thank you. Lydia. So, great sky, bit of granulation going on there. Love it. Great trees as well. A nice family grouping, sort of walking, I guess, walking away from us or walking towards us. Nice lights. Nothing overworked. Perhaps some of the background trees, the gaps between the different elements, perhaps some of that could be filled in, as a few people have done, just to really help to push it back a little bit more, maybe just slightly lighter in value. But everything else is very nice. Great lights, great sky. Well done, and nice grouping of three figures. Thanks, Lydia. Lynn H. Yeah, very colourful. I like the foreground, the way that you've done the foreground with those square blocks of bushes. Nice sort of pattern to them. Good combination of figures. The main palm tree on the left-hand side. Good lights as well. Yeah, figures well drawn. Maybe these two figures here, not sure if they're in front of the pool or behind the pool, so that we can't see the lower parts of them. But a nice painting. Is the background, maybe the background just has got a little bit too much detail in it. I like the colours though. I like these blues that you've got in just in the middle there. That blue and the blues in the shadows. Very effective. Yeah, well done, Lynn. Thank you. So just before I go on to the next one, Marta, just to mention again, if you want to take part in future events or you want to have a go at previous online watercolour workshops, they're still available for you to have a go at. And I shared the source photo and you can get a critique from me. But everything else, all the other details, just go up to my events website, crowdcast.io/Tim Wilmot, and the next one will be in January, a winter stream scene. So back to November. Marta. Yeah, there's a nice bit of drama going on here with those trees and the shapes of the foreground bushes, very loose. I like the figures, but maybe if the figures had some shadows just to connect them with the ground, Marta, that might work a little bit better. But everything else is really nice. Good sky, bit of a glow behind the building, I think works as well. So there could be some, the lights of the city coming up from behind the building. Yeah, nice drama, and like the brush marks, and good idea for, I like the mount around it as well. That does really show it off. Well done, Marta. Thank you. And Mary. Do I have more than one Mary? No, Mary. You're the only Mary. Great sky. Look at that sky up against the warmth of the building. Lovely lights. Vibrant greens as well. Maybe I'd have not so many gaps in the shadows there, Mary. Maybe more of a solid shadow. And with the background trees, perhaps they could have been a bit lighter in value and maybe not so many gaps below that. But it's a really nice painting. I like the trees as well. And the sky, as with a few other people, you've got a nice bit of granulation going on. Yeah, and good lights. Well done. Thanks very much. Thanks very much, Mary. And next up is Matt. Very nice. Now, so Matt, you've gone for more of a squarish pool in front of the building, which really works. You haven't gone for palm trees. You've gone for more sort of loose, maybe more northern hemisphere trees. Beautiful green that you've got into those trees and bits of blue, dry brush marks. The lights are brilliant. Again, we've got a sense of that bright light coming through. Great figure work as well. But well done for changing some of the key elements of the scene and making it very loose, nothing overworked. Very, very confident watercolor, and little bits of light showing through as well with those brush marks in the middle area. Yep, a very nice watercolor. Well done, Matt. Mauricio. I hope I pronounced your name okay. Good sense of light hitting that band of light that you've got in here, just there. Maybe with the shadows, they're sort of a little bit too parallel coming from the foreground bushes. Maybe if they were more a little bit like this, for example. And as we go around, we get a little bit more horizontal. That might work a bit better. I like the sky. You've actually allowed it, maybe you had a little bit of a slope on your board and you just let that thicker color drop down into the lighter color. That works really well. Love that sky. Great figure work as well. Trees, perhaps the palm tree fronds are a little bit too dark. It could have been done better maybe with a dry brush mark. Just consider trying to use a dry brush mark for those palm tree fronds. But yeah, lovely painting. I particularly like that band of light at the bottom of the building. And the sky, very nice sky. So I'll have another go at your first name, Mauricio. Thanks very much indeed. Maureen, very golden in colour. Certainly those shadows are drawing, the lines of those shadows are drawing us into the scene. I think a bit overworked there, Maureen, on some of these foreground shadows, but I do like the transparent layers that you've got into them. They're quite I was going to use the word spooky, but they're quite sort of lace-like and very, very attractive. But maybe from a watercolor point of view, just a tiny bit overworked. But you've certainly got a nice glow, nice golden glow to the picture. Good figures, also just the right value. Nice bit of loose wet in wet going over on the right-hand side. Maybe the sky could have been a tiny bit darker, just to give that added extra feeling of the night time. Very nice. Well done, Maureen. And Max. Very loose. Yours is maybe fairly similar to mine, Max, the way I've done mine. As regards the values, nothing is overworked, good sky, lovely building. You can, I mean, that top part of the building especially, and the edges that you've got there, you've gone to the edge with the brush and you've stopped, and whatever the edge was, you've just left it, and it just gives the feeling of that architecture. And the top edge as well, not too straight, a little bit of a few quirky bumps in the top there, like the way that you've done the palm trees, dropped in a little bit of water into the crown, just giving that extra bit of texture, just the right value of the background trees, bit of a glow coming from the central part of the back as well. Great figures. Yeah, very nice, Max. Although it's a good copy of mine. That's why I like it. Well done, Max. And Meg. Right, so looks like we're head onto the building. We've got that horizontal top to it. Great use of watercolor. Nothing overworked. Good sky. Lovely building. I like the touch with the birds as well. Maybe with the birds, don't have them all with the same sort of shape as in that sort of V shape. Maybe even just have them at an angle like that, maybe, or another angle, or the wings pointing downwards, or just a little dot could just make it a little bit better. But nice touch with those birds. Maybe they're parrots flying around from palm tree to palm tree, as they do in that part of the world. Great rendering of the middle area, perhaps the trees in the background could be, we can have a little bit of a sharper edge at the top. Great figures though. Nice way that you've done the foreground. Lovely palm tree. Yeah. Nice. Well done, Meg. Particularly like the sky though. Keep coming back to the sky and the granulation that you've got in there. But nice touch for the birds. Well done. And dry brush marks for these palm trees. And also a little bit of, dropped in a little bit of water into some of the crowns of those trees I can see. Yeah, well done, Meg. And Michele. So I like it. The glow that you've got coming from the sky in the distance is good. These lights are good as well. Certainly very bright. Loose way that you've done the foreground shrubs and these shadows, just the right kind of angle and very loosely done. One stroke of the brush, and on rough paper we get that deckled edge towards the end. Nice building. Yeah, it's very good actually. And a bit of a coolness going over on the right hand side, so warmer in the middle here and then cooler over on the right hand side. Yeah, well done, Michele. Thank you. And Nancy B. Nice glow across the middle, lovely lights. The background perhaps a tiny bit overworked there, Nancy. But the foreground is good. Bit like me, maybe if you went a bit darker with the foreground. And actually you've done quite well to have a big area in the foreground, so you can really go to town, well, as you have done, go to town with those shadows. Perhaps you could have been a bit more dramatic with the shadows, a bit wider with the shadows. But I like, those two are good. Those are good, but this one's a little bit wimpy. Maybe some of these could be a bit stronger. Yeah, just watch the slight overworking of that background there, but everything else is excellent. Well done, Nancy. Nice sky, building, lights. That figure there on the right-hand side, maybe the head is just a tiny bit too big and the arms a bit too short. Yeah, but lovely lights. That light there is very bright. Yeah, definitely sunglasses job on that one. Thanks, Nancy. Oh, that's Nancy B, and then Nancy T. Good composition, nice glow from the middle, figures, perhaps the head's a little bit too large, and just a slight overworking of these shadows, almost as if, did you lay down the shadows and then maybe lifted some of the shadow off, maybe, perhaps? But like everything else, the sky, background, trees, again, just maybe try and, as I pointed out quite a few times, just have in the background, maybe just a few verticals connecting the background with the ground, just so we don't have that gap appearing there. That might help a little bit, I think. Like the trees though, yeah, very bright. You've got that nighttime feeling for sure. Well done. And Nina. So composition, brilliant. The way you've done those trees with your brush marks, I love it. And another nice touch, you've got a bit of a slope in the foreground, which works with the angles that you've got of the shadows coming from the bushes there. But I really like this. It wasn't, I don't think it was there in the source photo, but you've got this sort of little bit of a lane or pathway coming up from the left, which is sort of mirroring the angle there at the top of that building, having that angle there. Brilliant idea. This is an excellent watercolor, lovely sky. That building is brilliant, Nina. Very loosely done. The way that you lay down the wash, the lights as well. Yeah, very, very good. Excellent. Fantastic. Yep. Thanks, Nina. And Pat C. Okay, good composition. I think that building might be a little bit too light. If it was darker at the top, Pat, that might be a little bit more evocative of a nighttime scene. Everything else, though, very good. Nice trees, background just right. I like that blue that you've got into the background. Good figure work. That statue just right. Just to the left of that centre line. It's just perfect. Well done. And the foliage there. I like this palm tree also with the way that you've done those marks around the form of the trunk, just to give it some kind of depth or three-dimensional feel to it. Yep, very nice, Pat. Just think that building could be a little bit darker towards the top. Thanks very much. Apart from the fairly regular live online workshops I do in watercolor, I've also got another thing going on, running a sort of online watercolor painters club that's incorporated into Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/Tim Wilmot, you'll see all the details of the club up there and different events and projects that I run through the month. Very lively scene with the community that we've got there, and sharing of artwork and source images and lots of painting projects for you to do as well. Take a look at that, patreon.com/Tim Wilmot. Right, Pete. Very good. Nice and loose. You've incorporated a lot of watercolor effects in this, Pete. I like the on the right hand side here, this whole area here, very nice. And that little thing in the sky, I quite like that, where some people might think that's a bit of an imperfection with some of the different thicknesses of the pigment with the ratio of pigment to water. But I think it's nice, and you certainly got that nice graded sky, lovely where that you've done the building, also very loose foreground, bushes and shadows. The figures, perhaps these figures, well, there's a very tall figure and a smaller figure. They're actually quite good figures. Yeah, it's particularly that left-hand one. That left-hand one looks like it's looking at the figure to the left. Like the statue as well, this nice pose of that statue, lovely lights. Yeah, certainly a lot of watercolor techniques and dry brush marks going on there. Very loosely done. Well done, Pete. And Philip L. Very loose. I like the greens. Maybe the greens in the background a little bit too vibrant, Philip. They could have been perhaps a little lighter in value, a little bit bluer, just to push them back a bit. But I like the sky, very loose way that you've got that transition into the building. And I think like High on Me, with that just depicting the top of the building with a few dry darker brush marks with a smaller brush. Great figures as well. Certainly the feeling of darkness across that area there, but light on the building and light over on the right hand side. And also different, another nice idea with the foliage in the foreground rising up and connecting with the background. So this spiky plant here, it starts in the foreground, but it joins, is connected with the background. Yeah, I just think the greens in the back there just perhaps are too vibrant. They could be made a little bit weaker in value. That would be better, but lovely painting, Philip. Thank you. Phyllis, excuse the size of this picture. If I zoom in, I might lose my thread, but we can sort of see what's going on. A nice row of bushes leading us up to the left-hand side of the picture. We've got the lights as well. Perhaps the sky a tiny bit overworked, and the background that could be filled in a bit more just to push it back, make it a little bit lighter in value. Great figures as well. Thanks very much, Phyllis. And Raoul. Very clean, precisely drawn. Strong verticals and horizontals, which is a nice design element. The figures here, they look as if they're sort of sat on a bench maybe. That might be a nice, nice touch. Good lights. I think there needs to be some other, maybe it's the background that needs a little bit more. Maybe it's these lines here, a little bit too dark. Not sure what they are, and this line there. And that sort of curve of this building. Also watch, these trees are a little bit overworked, but maybe again, like others, make the palm tree fronds, less of them, but darker and thicker so that we don't see the background showing through. But you've got the night. Well done. And those lights are fantastic. Well done. Thanks very much, Raoul. And Ravi B. Yep, very dramatic. Love the shadows in the foreground. You've got the lights there, Ravi. Those three lights. Bit of a kinky bend to the palm tree here, but it gives it a bit of character. And that almost like a knee, someone's leg. It's like a sort of the leg of some sort of prehistoric monster or something. Is fantastic. It's got a nice bit of character, and that palm tree, just darkness either side of it. Palm trees are fantastic. Just the right green. Perhaps the building at the background, that top angle is going down a bit too much. Because of that angle there, maybe Ravi, if it was something a little bit like that. So a less, the angle less steep. But love the lights, dramatic shadows, and those palm trees. Very good. You're very good at mixing greens. Thanks very much, Ravi. Ravi N. Ooh, very bright blue there in the top left corner. Lovely. Maybe a bit too blue for a nighttime scene. If it was toned down with a little bit of alizarin or a bit of burnt sienna when you were mixing it. But it's just the right value. We got the feeling of night, lovely lights, very loose shadows from those bushes, palm trees. With the background, with those background trees, maybe I would refrain from doing so many of these dry brush marks there, Ravi, those sort of, these vertical lines. But everything else, very nice indeed. Well done. Ricardo, thanks for sending me your painting. Yeah, we've got that nighttime feeling. Perhaps a tiny bit of overworking in the foreground. Secondly, this tree trunk may be a little bit too green. If it was perhaps had a bit of burnt sienna or burnt umber added to it, let's make it a little bit less green than that. And I think you might have used a bit of white paint for the lights, and that it sort of works. You've got to be very careful with white paint though, that it doesn't get too messy. You've got to keep it nice and fresh, which you've been able to do. I like these diagonal marks that you've got into the background. Just noticed that. I think it looks very nice. I don't know whether that was intentional, but it works well in that background. The building is very good, sky very good, trees also, and you've got that kind of skirt forming there. That the where the base of the fronds have not been trimmed so well, that you typically find in palm trees. Very authentic. Yeah, perhaps that foreground just a little bit too overworked there, but lovely painting. You've got the night as well. You've got that evening feeling. Well done. Thank you very much, Ricardo. Richard S. Now, Richard, you could have gone a bit darker, particularly in the foreground. It's quite soft and light. And also those palm trees, with the shape of the palm trees. Now, that palm tree there is good because we've got the fronds sort of coming from the middle, rather like a firework exploding, if you like. Whereas this one here, it looks like we've got lots of sort of lateral ones, so it's not so authentic. But you've got a good composition, like the figures. Looks like this right hand one is leaning against the tree trunk. Great lights as well, very well drawn. Yeah, just go a bit, try and go a bit bolder with the colours and values. So go darker than you think, and also inject a bit of colour. So maybe in those shadows of the bushes, drop in a bit of blue, drop in a bit of red, see what it's like. All right. Thanks very much, Richard. And Ron. Great sky. Certainly nighttime. Lovely lights. Great. I like those figures there, especially that right-hand figure, Ron. Yeah, the foreground bushes. The background palm trees as well. Yeah, it's a very nice watercolor. Yeah, maybe if you had what about trying a brush with a better point to it? I sense that a lot of your marks are quite rounded. So if you had a brush with a better point, Ron, I'm not sure if that would just give you a more diverse range of brush marks, like what's going on the right-hand side, like that area as well. Excellent. Well done, Ron. Thank you. And next is Rosa. Another cracker. Three things I immediately like. First of all, sort of like a background behind the background. So those very faint palm trees there, below the row of trees in the foreground. The way you've done those lights with we got that white and then like a yellowish rim around that, very It does give you more of a feeling of the artificial lights, I think. And then thirdly, this golden glow and that kind of sort of red mark that's trailing around that. Beautiful. Very, very nice. I don't think the palm trees, some of the palm trees aren't as good as the other elements in the picture, particularly this palm tree here, Rosa, but everything else really nice. And also another nice touch, this palm tree here, dark at the top, going light down towards the bottom. That also gives a feeling of the height of that tree, and the fact that the light is coming from almost sort of horizontally out from those lights. Yeah, well done, Rosa. Good figures as well. Thanks very much indeed. Sandra. Sandra, are there more than one Sandra? No, there's only one Sandra. Sandra. Nice one, nice composition. Watch the figures with the head shape and the neck. So I just watched that, but you've got lovely lights. Trees are good. I particularly like this fan palm tree here. Very realistic. Nice sky as well. That granulation, nice graded wash. The lights in the distance. Those dramatic shadows in the foreground. Well done on that. And good lights as well. Lovely building. Yep, nice one, Sandra. Thank you. Shannon. So I like the foreground here, Shannon, with we've got the shadow coming from the bushes, and then you've dropped in a little bit of blue nearest to us, which is very effective. On the right-hand side of the background, nice, just the right value there. Very dark in the top left corner. Nice way that you've done the sky. And we've got a few sort of bands we sense a few bands, horizontal bands coming down to the horizon. On the right-hand side of the tree, I maybe wouldn't have had that bit of light there on the right-hand side. I would have been tempted just to not have that and connect the background with the right-hand side of that tree trunk. I don't know how you feel on that. Just to, again, help with that connection. Great figures, just the right size, those figures. Yeah, nice loose watercolor. And yes, you've got the night time feeling there, Shannon. Thank you. Sheila L. Oh, this is more moonlight here. We haven't got those lights coming from the building. It's more like we've got the light, we've got a feeling of light coming from the top. Now watch how you do the sky. Think of the sky was a slightly better sort of flatter wash. That might work a little bit better, Sheila, but lovely building, the figures as well, the darkness, sort of quite a dark picture this, but you've got the sense of more of a moonlight, I think, on this one, the light coming from above rather than from those lights. Yep, nice one, Sheila. Thank you very much. And Shiva. Okay, nothing overworked. Lovely sky. Nice transition from the darker blue into the yellow. Good background. These figures, they're quite chunky. These two figures here, maybe if they were a little bit narrower. I like the bushes, Shiva, in the foreground with very good shadows coming from those, just the right angles. Palm trees as well. the palm trees on the right-hand side are a little bit better than those on the left, in my opinion. Just with those less, sometimes with palm trees, less brush strokes or brush marks are better than lots of marks. Tiny bit of a gap here, not sure what that is. But a nice glow to the picture. Also, I might have, I know I've mentioned on a few others, try and connect the foreground with the middle ground with some kind of vertical. So, for example, Phillips a little while ago, having some kind of a plant that is there in the foreground, just to connect, or some sort of post or something like that. Or maybe another palm tree on the left-hand side here. But very nice, Shiva. Nice handling of watercolor. Good handling of watercolor techniques and laying down those beautiful washes there, and that granulation as well. Well done. Sonia. Now, so the definite start of this, you like your little brush marks making up these bushes. So rather than trying to paint every single leaf in a bush, try and think of the object as a whole, and not try and overwork it too much. The background building, I think, could be a little bit darker. And we haven't really got that sort of sense of light. It's a lovely scene, very soft scene. And the palm trees work together in that they're all sort of similar in kind of shape and appearance. With the figures, just try and watch the figure heads being a little bit too large. Sonia, just a tiny bit large there. But yes, I think the main thing is injecting more values into the scene, some darker, make that building darker in the background, make the sky a bit darker, go a bit more bolder with the colors and the values. But a very precisely well painted watercolor. And yeah, just try and loosen up a little bit more, I would have said, with some of the techniques there, Sonia. But well done. Thanks very much indeed. And Sue B. A nice sort of loose, it is very loose, I was going to say, quirky angle to it. But yeah, that building in the background. I think it's the angle that you've taken the photograph. We've got that kind of the left-hand edge of the paper there and the right-hand edge, so I can see now what's going on. I'm sure that building is angled correctly, and these will be vertical. I'm positive that's the case. Not sure what this archway is here. It's quite a nice design element, that actually. Could we make something of that if we saw like a lighter glow at the bottom, or maybe a few more horizontals coming up to meet the middle? What would that sort of be? Figures, good. Nice way that you've handled the foreground bushes there, Sue. Palm trees are good, could be a bit darker. And I like these two, actually. I think that's a nice way that you use watercolor to depict that sort of mistiness to it. Looks like those trees have got a bit of blossom on them or something. Yeah, very loose. Quite a distinctive style. Yes, I think we just need to compensate the angle that you've taken the picture. I'm sure some of these verticals would be a little bit more vertical. But well done, Sue. Thank you. Suniti. That is a lovely yellow you've got on that building. Feeling at the texture, the way that you've connected those palm trees. So that's a lighter palm tree against the lighter, a lighter palm tree against the darker background of the building behind it. But obviously that light there is shining up into the canopy of that palm tree and then going darker with that one. So light there, darker there. Very nice touch. And I'm not so sure these marks of the shadows are, strictly speaking, realistic. I think if you had a bigger brush for some of those and maybe got some blues in there or some other color and maybe connecting more, like you did with this tree. That tree is superb. I keep going back to that tree. That tree is superb, the way it's connected with the background. But maybe if you adopted that same technique with the bushes there and the shadows coming away. I prefer a little bit of a connection there, a little bit of a horizontal connection, but figures are good. That's a lovely watercolor. Standout for me, the two standouts, lovely yellow color and the way that you've merged in those trees. Well done, Suniti. And Suzanne. Yeah, nice loose watercolor, well drawn, figures watch with the lighter the lighter sort of border around the figures, particularly the lower part of the figures. Try and merge them more into the background there, Suzanne. Nice and dark in the top left corner. Watch with the palm tree. Try and maybe not have all of the lines too equally spaced. Just introduce a few imperfections into that palm tree, but you've got all the lines really well. They're curved like that up here, but curved a bit the other way down towards the bottom. Nice background. Yeah, and those lights there, very, very good. Well done, Suzanne. Thank you. Thanks for watching so far. Just another mention, you want to take part in these live watercolor online workshops, take a look at crowdcast.io/Tim Wilmot. You'll see details of all the previous workshops, so you can still have a go at if you want to and get a critique from me. And the up and coming one, these are the critiques from our November workshop. The next one will be in January 2021. Right, back to the paintings and Sylvia. I like that the blue of the sky, the loose way that you've done the building, a little bit of texture of the building showing through, with these little bits of the paper showing through. They're very nice. Perhaps some of the palm trees, like that palm tree there, in my opinion, is better than that one there. I think we need to close up that middle and have more of this sort of radial pattern of fronds coming out. Background could be a little bit more denser and lighter. I like the figures that you've got coming through here, Sylvia. They're very nice, those two groups of two figures. And the foreground foliage, nice touch with this one. Going back to what I said earlier, connecting things. So if that bush was, if you imagine that bush was just there, for example, which has got all that gap there, but you've closed it up. Well done. Yeah, very, very nice. Thank you, Sylvia. And Sylvie, a bit of a wider dimension to this one. almost a feeling of, I don't know about you, but I feel like there's a bit of mist coming across the scene, particularly in the middle ground. Very expertly done there. I like the foliage as well in the foreground. Just be careful with the use of a little bit of white paint on the building. Nice sky. And the palm trees, I think you could have done better by maybe not going over them a couple of times. Like that tree there is nicer than maybe that one there. I just think some of the ends are a little bit too, the ends are just a little bit too rounded. They could be more sort of pointy, if you like. That one there is better. But you got the night feeling, and that sense, that mist. I don't think anyone else has managed to achieve that. That sort of mist coming through. Very clever, and nice palm tree trunk as well. Very naturalistic and different colours and different horizontal lines. Yep, well done. Thanks, Sylvie. Thomas. Yep, certainly very, very bold shadows in the foreground. I like your figures with a little bit of blue body paint added to them. Nice lights. Perhaps the trees are a tiny bit overworked and the fronds are a little bit too straight. Perhaps if they were more arched, Thomas, that might be a bit more realistic. They look a bit more like a sort of large yucca type plant. But they're good and nice lights. Yeah, very dramatic shadows coming from the bushes here. Maybe just a tiny bit overworked. I'm not sure if you've lifted off or you've gone in with a damp brush just to mix them around a bit, but just be a little bit careful with that. But everything else is quite loose. Very nice, and good sky as well. Good sky, lovely building. Yeah, well done, Thomas. And I like that blue in the figures. It's very nice. Thanks, Thomas. Ting. Right, so definitely the focal point here, because we don't have any other figures. That focal point is there. And good idea, just having it left of center as well. Lovely lights. Great way that you've done the background building, Ting. These palm trees, just the right value, nice and loose, dry brush marks. Sort of circular feeling of that, of the pool and this road coming up from the right-hand side. Very naturalistic greens that you've got. Yeah, it would have been nice to sneak in a couple of figures there, just so that it's not too sparse, and maybe a few more details on the building, some extra windows, just so that it maybe avoids looking a little bit too plain. But lovely watercolor, Ting, well done. Tony, nice color, lovely blue, very vibrant blue there, gorgeous orange at the base of the building. Nice lights as well, good figures. Loose way that you've done the palm trees. Perhaps on the shadows, I like the shadows, but attention to their angles. So this litter bin here, maybe the angle could be more like that. And then the bushes on the left-hand side, the angle's a bit more like that, perhaps, just so that we've got a bit of a feeling of perspective, leading into where the light source is coming from. Lovely background, but the standout for me is that sky. Very nice blue up there in the top left corner. Perhaps a bit too blue for the evening. Could have been maybe a little bit redder or darker, but nice watercolor. Well done. Thanks, Tony. And next up, Tony. So from a composition point of view, we've got, or I can see that there's like a sort of road going up here. That's a nice touch. Good framing on the left-hand side and the right-hand side. As regards watercolor techniques, lovely sky. I just think the trees are a little bit overworked. And again, we're like a few others. Think of that palm tree. Do you have a tree? Like these two trees there, they're nicer. But the others, they're a little bit overworked. And just think about that exploding firework. Try and get it a bit more like that. Like the figures, just the right size. Lovely lights as well. Maybe if we had a few more areas of light and shade in the middle and foreground, that might create a bit more drama and make that shadow there stand out a bit more. If you imagine it was lighter either side, that shadow is going to be more dramatic and darker. But nice one. Tony or Tony, I do apologise if I haven't pronounced your name correctly. Tony R. Nice grouping of three lights, or the two lights there on the left and that light in the middle. Nice watercolor techniques as well. Great sky. I like that bit of alizarin crimson you've dropped into the top there. Certainly makes it feel more night-like, like the trees. With these shadows, maybe not have, they look like sort of fingers coming out. The shadow shapes look like fingers in a way. So perhaps if they were more blocked in like a block because they're being created by these sort of squarish shapes here. Like the background though, the background is just the right value. Yeah. Very nice background, Tony, and good figure work as well. That figure there on the right-hand side looks very good. Looks like a lady with the coat just coming out to the right-hand side. Yeah, well done, Tony. And Yael, a squarish format to Yael. Very loose, very artistic. I like the brush marks. The way that you've merged in that background tree to this tree trunk and then this middle ground stuff, and you mixed in the paint with the trunk. Very effective. I think it might get a bit more lost down here. I can't really sort of sense what's going on down there. But everything else is fantastic. The light coming from the background building and the figures there as well. Yeah, great sky. The green's not too green, not too vibrant. Beautiful, lovely loose watercolor. Well done, Yael. Next live watercolor workshop will be in January the 23rd. More details on crowdcast.io/Tim Wilmot. We're going to be painting I'm going to be painting for you, with you. If you want to paint along with me, you'd be very welcome. This winter stream scene. This is the River Windrush, a photograph taken by me a few winters ago. So we can see lots of bare trees here, a low winter sunlight coming across the scene. There's the lovely River Windrush there in the middle. Little bits of frost, little packets of frost there in the shade of this tree. Soft winter light as well. Bit of light hitting a patch of grass there, and a little bit of light on the far bank. And then these deciduous trees. Look at this tree trunk here. It's been cut and there's lots of little water sprouts coming out from that tree, casting a soft shadow over here. So I think it's going to be a great subject for a winter landscape painting with these strong design elements, these verticals, the low light coming through, a chance to practice reflections and soft edges, different edges in watercolor as well, just trying to get that winter type feeling without snow, a winter type feeling to that scene. Here's a practice sketch I did a little while ago. Maybe I can improve on that on the day. So hopefully you can join me. Go up to crowdcast.io/Tim watercolor.io/Tim Wilmot. All the details will be in the description of this video. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully we'll see you on the event in January, live online, January the 23rd. Hope you can make it. Thanks for watching.